Hey Forkers, Justin here. Just a quick update that this is the last of the weekly released episodes that we have recorded. Really glad that we were able to keep this at a weekly cadence for the first 18 episodes of this brand new show. But going forward, or at least for the foreseeable future, we're going to be on a monthly release cadence. And I decided we're going to release those just randomly throughout the month. I'm not going to stick to a set day of the month or a set day of the week even. We just want to make sure that your pagers are working, and we're just going to drop the episode whenever it's ready. We have all of our guests lined up for the rest of the year. I'm really excited to talk to all of them. Really cool topics. But whenever we're ready with the edits and the descriptions and everything else, we're just going to throw it in the feed. So make sure you subscribe. If you want to subscribe to the newsletter and get it via email, you can sign up on the website, of course, FAFO.FM. But thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you all the sponsors who have sponsored us so far, able to let us pay for the editors and the website and all the hosting things we have. And instead of pausing the show and then trying to come back to it later, we're just going to keep it going at a slightly slower pace. Really excited for you all to hear this episode with Angie. She did an amazing job explaining what the model context protocol is for AI and for Goose and how it interacts with things. And also really fun just to hear from her about her background in tech and what she's been doing and how she works on things and how she learns new things. Really fun episode. So thanks again, everyone who has supported us up to this point, and we'll just jump into the episode. Welcome to Fork Around and Find Out, the podcast about building, running, and maintaining software and systems. Welcome to Fork Around and Find Out. I am your host, Justin Garrison, and with me as always is Autumn Nash. And today on the show, we are importing some class with Java champion Angie Jones.
I actually like that one.
Yes! One of the jokes landed. Sweet.
I'm so proud of you. Also, y'all, Angie is the GOAT, okay? This is meeting your, superhero in real life. Angie is the reason why I wake up and still put up with tech every day and hope to be her when I grow up.
Angie, you're currently the VP of DevRel at Block, and you're an author, you're a global speaker, you do a lot of stuff in the industry.
A Java champion, amazing glasses gang, all the time.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Tell us a little about what you are focusing on at Block. What is it Block is generally known as kind of finance company, but you're doing very specific things there.
I'm doing a lot of things there. Y'all don't see everything I'm doing, but yeah, I'm a VP of DevRel across all of Block, so that includes our products like Square and Cash App. It also includes our open source office. So we have quite a few open source offerings that are pretty popular. And we've just released an AI agent actually called Goose. And so I'm actually just naturally very excited about Goose. And so that's probably a lot of what you see. And because it's new, I'm kind of, jumping in the ring and playing with it and learning about it. And just like everybody else, I need to learn AI and how to utilize it in my work, just like the rest of the industry. So, yeah.
Immediately when I hear Goose, I think of the Untitled Goose Game. If you ever played that, it's like a puzzle sort of game, but a lot of people that like to do maybe penetration testing, it's kind of like a think outside the box. How are you going to solve this problem of oh, I see a gate there, I need to get a key. How would I get another way to get into this area, whatever it is? And so it's kind of a puzzle game, but it's this goose that you play as that is kind of bad. It's just it's you cause a bunch of trouble. You will turn on sprinklers or chase an animal or a farmer, all sorts of stuff. That's the first thing I thought of, but I'm assuming this AI agent's Goose is a little different than that. What is it designed to do?
So it's an interesting story. We actually built this AI agent internally for our engineers. We did a functionalization last year where we were divided by business units. So we had Cash App, they were basically their own company, Square, their own company, that kind of thing. And everybody had their own culture and did things differently. And so with the functionalization, we brought, different functions together, or similar functions together. And so all of engineering is now together, but everybody was doing something different. And so there's a lot of work behind the scenes just to kind of streamline things, make things simpler for our developers. We take developer experience very seriously, even internally. And so this tool was built to help developers automate more, move faster, and that sort of thing. It did amazingly well internally, and so we decided to open source it. And so it was designed to be like a developer AI agent. So AI agents, if I may, are basically just like LLMs you use, like the chatbots you use today, like ChatGPT, for example. Well, AI agents will actually do the thing for you versus telling you how to do the thing. And so we designed it for engineering tasks, but then people internally at our company were like, wait, we want to move faster too. We want to be efficient too. And so we have stretched the limits of Goose, and it's no longer considered just a developer agent, but a general purpose one.
What differentiates Goose from what else is out on the market right now?
One, it's open source, and two, it's local. So it's not in the cloud. It's not a website. You download it. You can utilize it as a desktop app, or you can utilize it as a CLI. And then also, it is a MCP client. So for those of you who may be living under a rock, MCP is the hottest thing out right now in the tech field. And so that's basically a standard that allows agents to talk to all sorts of data sources. And so there's probably close to 4,000 of these like MCP servers, which represent like APIs, databases. Like there's one for everything, your favorite tools. And because Goose is an MCP client, meaning it adheres to the MCP protocol, it can connect to any and all of those MCP servers. So you have really exciting times, like mixing and matching different things together to do some pretty cool stuff. Go ahead.
I was looking into MCP the other day, and from what I understand, it's basically an open API spec. Essentially, it has a couple different fields. It's like, hey, it's a JSON field. We can get this spec from this HTTP interface, and all of the MCP servers that I found that were something I wanted to do locally that wasn't an external service were web wrappers around command lines. Like every single one of them was like, oh, exec out to FFmpeg. Oh, exec out to Git. Oh, exec out to something. I'm like, these are just AI man pages in a lot of ways, right? Like it's, at the end of the day, how do you use the tool? Where do you get more information about it? And then where do I exec the thing? Is there something else I'm missing?
Yeah, the part that you're missing, because people look at just the server by itself and they're like, I don't get it. I don't get what's the magic. The magic is then that you can, or these man pages can be used by any AI agent that also speaks that same or adheres to that protocol, right? So what that means is like, and Autumn, back to your question, I'm gonna tie all this together. Back to your question about like how Goose differs. So a lot of the popular agents out right now are things like Claude Desktop, Cursor, Klein. You may have heard of these. All of these are like IDE focused, right? So I talked about how we're desktop and CLI focused, but even more than that, we aren't married to any LLM. So you can bring whatever LLM you want. You don't have to use Anthropic's LLM or OpenAI's, when they build these agents, is locked into what they're selling. You can bring whatever LLM you want with you, but then you can bring these tools. So Justin, back to your point, like, oh, what's the magic in this, right? So for example, I plugged in Google Calendar MCP and I plugged in an Asana MCP. I didn't have to do anything except say I want to use these things. Now I can do stuff. Think about it as the end user and not the code base. I can do stuff in natural language now, and my AI agent can just execute. So for example, I said, hey, Goose, can you look at my Asana board, find all of my tasks that are incomplete, and then I want you to look at my calendar as well, find open slots, estimate the time in the task to see how long it'll take, and I want you to find places where I can actually do my work, you know? And I don't like a whole lot of context switching. So try to group things together, right? And so I said all of this in natural language, and it's able to execute these things because of the simplicity of the MCP server. But yes, I like that. That is man pages for AI. That's true. If you're stuck just looking at the makeup of the MCP, that's probably not that interesting. But what it unlocks for people, that's the magic.
I think two things that you said were important. One, the fact that you can do it locally and it's not in a cloud, because I think that's one of the coolest parts about Apple's Apple Intelligent chip is the fact that it does all of the processing locally.
Turned all that off. All the Apple Intelligence just turned it off. It was such a pain.
You don't want it. You don't want it.
Oh man, every single thing. I'm like, these summaries
if
are
I'm going
garbage.
to do, if I'm going to use AI, I feel better with the way that Apple set it up, right? And also what you said with the fact that you can switch back and forth. It was so cool to see all the MVPs at MVP Summit, and they used AI in ways that I would have never have thought of. But with them, like some people using .NET and some people using like, I don't know, Java or different like frameworks in different languages. Some of the models were way better at one language than the other. And I think that was one of the cool parts of Copilot is that you can lift and shift your model in the way that they've really made it where...
We're reusing that term. All right.
It is, though. They were literally just switching back and forth. And they knew, like, hey, when I have this question, it is better on Claude.
I like that. I think that's fire. Like, I think that's fire because I use it as general purpose, right? So I use it for all sorts of tasks. Sometimes it's coding, sometimes it's more leadership type of things, sometimes, you know what I mean? And so some of the models, you're exactly right. I find that Claude is amazing as coding. That's who I want code. That's who I want to code with.
My friend was doing that yesterday.
Yeah, when I want to brainstorm, I want to talk to GPT. I like how they think. I like the reasoning there.
Her results were so much better yesterday on Claude for this very in-depth framework that she's never used before. And I think that's kind of like, I like it when it helps me learn. Like I love asking it questions like about subjects that I don't know and kind of using it like almost as like to simulate what you do in class when you're talking to somebody. Or I like it to do the things that are boring, that make my brain just feel like it's, what is the word, demand avoidant? You know what I mean? So that way I can do all the fun stuff. And I think like we're finally getting to a part where like just pretending like AI is going to replace us and do everything is just ridiculous. But using AI to make you more efficient so you can do more of what you enjoy and to kind of make your life better, those things I'm so here for. Oh, one more thing. We talked about open source. Can we just talk about how like fire of an open source contributor Miss Angie is? Because like she doesn't just do DevRel, okay? Like she's a speaker, a teacher, and she does like people will try to talk stuff up to you on like Blue Sky, and I'm like, have you seen her GitHub? Like go sit down. Like you're amazing. Like
Thank you.
Tell us about like all of your open source contributions and just like, or if there's anything cool you worked on.
Yeah, I'm actually a GitHub star, which is very cool. There's less than 100 of those in the world, so it's a huge honor. Yeah, a lot of the projects, one is, of course, Goose, so that's open source. That's what I'm working on mostly these days. But these MCP servers too, so the cool thing about the MCP servers is that you don't have to be the vendor of the API to make them. And so you can make one for anything. Now, I'm an automation girly, right? And so one of my tools that I've used forever was Selenium to do like test automation, browser automation, that sort of thing. and my girl didn't have a MCP server out there, so I had to do that for the culture, and so I created an MCP server for Selenium. Playwright shortly thereafter put theirs out and made a big splash because that came from Microsoft, and so it's like me against Microsoft now. I'm joking, I love Microsoft, but but yeah, so those are the kind of projects that I work on, usually tools that I use myself. I like to try to give back in some way, even if it's not a code contribution, if that could be some sort of like community advocacy or anything like that. I'm down for all of that. Nothing's too big or small for me.
I think that's really important because it can be such a daunting task to try to learn where you contribute for open source. And I think that's
I like
cool.
to go to the docs. People need doc help all 100%. The time.
Yes.
And people love that. Like, if you try to contribute to a project and they don't know you and you're trying to contribute to their code base, everybody's kind of looking like, who this,
Yeah.
But docs, people are like, oh yes, by all means, please, thank you. You're their
and
best
there's
friend
always
at that
something.
point.
There's always something that people forget when setting stuff up, and they've never because they've used it so much before they release it. That if you set something up, there's always a good tidbit that you can add.
Always recommend if you're going to contribute to a new project, especially in like a new community, start with docs because you'll understand how the process of the project is. Like how many
That's true.
checkoffs do you need, right? Is this worth your time? Like start with your effort really low and say, hey, I fixed this in the docs. And if they say no, you're just like, okay, well, maybe I don't want to contribute here anymore. But if they're like, oh, can you add this? Here's some corrections, whatever. Oh, could you also do it in this other area? Oh, they need this help. They want it. That sort of engagement is good. But also, if you're contributing docs, please do not submit AI reviews of like we've had pull requests and people are like, I rewrote this doc with AI. And I'm like, please no, like this is not an improvement for us. Like we want people to spend their time because the limitation of open source is usually the maintainer's time. Right? You can't take all the inbound requests. You can't do all the software, but all those reviews just take more and more time. So if you are just throwing stuff out there to get your name, please don't.
I don't know why people don't like use that as their first pass and then go and like look over it. Cause I'm like, would you trust, like we look over human stuff. Like make sure you code review your AI stuff. But yeah.
Can you describe like, what was your process for writing the MCP server there for, not for
Selenium?
For Selenium, yeah.
Oh, look
What did you do? Like, how do you local test that? How do you make sure that it's going to work properly?
Yeah. Okay, good question. Oh, I could geek out about MCP all day. Okay, so there's actually official SDKs in TypeScript, Java, Kotlin, Python, Rust, and Microsoft just released a C# one like 2 weeks ago. So you can pick up the official SDK and everything's kind of in there already. So it's really straightforward to use. You basically just initialize a server and then you start adding tools to it. So there's like a server.tool and then, just like you said, you kind of put the name, the description, and then like the body of the function of what does this do when this tool is called. And then there's a lot of community members, well, not a lot, but a few community members who are simplifying that SDK even more by making what they're calling fast MCP. So as far as I know, there's one in Python and there's one in TypeScript. But with the fast MCP, it's supposed to be even simpler, but I didn't use fast MCP. I wanted to use like the OG SDK.
The OG. It's been around for 3 months.
Yeah. We move fast over here. But yeah, I used the OG TypeScript SDK, which is interesting because I'm a Java girl. But as I was writing it, the Java one wasn't out yet. So I was like, all right, I guess I'll use TypeScript. And actually, I use Goose quite a bit on okay, what am I missing? What function should I add? Is this cool? Is this not? And so it basically helped me in writing it. And then there's actually a MCP inspector that also comes from Model Context Protocol. And that's how you test. So you can test this locally by just kind of hooking it up to this inspector. And it'll show all the tools that are available in that MCP server. And then you can try to execute them too and make sure everything works before you deploy it. So then once I make sure it works, commit that to GitHub, make an NPM package, and good to go.
It's usually way better than Comcast.
Angie, I know for a little while when you at least started at Block and TBD, you were focusing a lot on identity. Where's that work kind of gone? What were you doing with that, and how was that kind of playing out? Is that shifting into this sort of AI space, or is that something that you're kind of like, hey, we have a standard and we want people to use it?
Yeah, that was totally separate. So I lead DevRel for all of Block, and so that was one of the projects. And so that one was digital identity and cross-border money movement, and I was under the umbrella of TBD. That business unit has since shut down, and we have donated those projects, all the open source work that we did. We've donated it to the Decentralized Identity Foundation, and so they're maintaining those projects now.
There's a new foundation I didn't know about every day.
That's really cool that you all donated it all.
Yeah, we don't want the work to die. It was good work, you know. As companies reprioritize, you know, we just kind of needed to focus elsewhere. But yeah, there was a good momentum behind it and everything like that. So we didn't want to just kill it, and we want to be good open source stewards. And so donated it to make sure that it stays alive. Is
this an independent foundation? I don't see any like, it's not Linux Foundation. It looks like
right. Yeah, they're independent.
Okay. I'm trying to see. I'm looking on their website, like what other projects or things they've done in the past, because I know some foundations are different than others, right? Like some of them are very focused on an industry, and then some of them are kind of where projects go to die, right? The Apache Foundation has a bunch of projects that are kind of like the geriatric home for open source.
Dang, Justin. That's why people ask you if you have hot takes in webinars. This is exactly why.
I stole that from someone else, but I liked it because it's true that there are a lot of foundations out there that are just like, hey, we want this to exist in the world, but we ain't spending any more time on it, right? Like someone else needs to maintain this for us going forward, and kind of the community is going to shift off at some point. I don't know anything about the DIF Foundation or what the projects are, so I'm just kind of curious seeing. There's too many foundations. There's too many places that the software is going to land, and there's too much code that's not being maintained in all of them. And I kind of wonder how that also is going to play out.
Yeah, well, DIF has been a great partner. We worked with them a lot as we were developing things. And the decentralized web node stuff that we developed actually was their spec. And so it felt like a good home. You know, they created the standard for it. They contribute to the code. They promoted very heavily while we were developing it. And so, you know, they were more than willing to accept.
So your implementation was implementing their spec?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Is it exciting being kind of the head of like Cash App and all the other different kind of technologies that Block has? So you get kind of like the variety of different aspects of Block.
Yeah. So head of DevRel, let's correct that. I want everybody to think I run all of Cash App. But yeah, it is exciting because I'm tech girl, right? That's what I go by as like my username across the internet is tech girl. And I don't ever want to box myself into like one specific tech. There's things that I go really deep on and that I feel I'm an expert in, like Java, for example, you know, things like that. But then I also like to learn and dabble with all sorts of things and be pretty knowledgeable, at least at a surface level, about most of the things, you know. And so, yeah, this gives me a great opportunity to, one, explore these different spaces, but two, look at like how you can connect them. So one of the things about me is I'm an inventor. So I have like 20 something patents, right? And so I love to kind of think of creative ways to utilize tech to merge like things together that don't necessarily belong together and see
that
like what happens.
Cool that you have that many patents.
Thank you.
You're amazing. I want to be like you when I grow up. How did you become a Java champion?
Oh my God. So I love Java. In case anybody didn't know that, like I love Java. So I actually started coding in Java in college. I started with C++ actually. And then I had a Java professor, like maybe my junior year. and he was a young Java programmer. I think this might have been his first teaching gig, but he was just so on fire about Java, and that just became contagious. And the way he taught it just made it very enjoyable. And so he was so nice that after like the first semester, he did maybe 2 semesters. He did a boot camp over the summer, so you could go home if you wanted to, or you could stay back for the summer. And he did a free boot camp for students who wanted to become certified in Java. And so I stayed for the boot camp, and we went hard, and we learned the ins and outs of the language and all of this stuff. And I took the test, and I became a certified Java programmer before I even graduated college, which was very marketable to get my first job. Because back then, Java was the hot new thing. That was the hot new language. So the industry folks didn't really know Java. This was something he was just trying to pick up. And here you got like this girl coming out of school with a certification in it. So that was very very beneficial for me. So anyway, I did Java for pretty much all of my career, and not just did it, but also shared the things that I was doing by like teaching courses and workshops. I founded Test Automation University, which is absolutely free, and it's just courses that are available that teach people not just Java programming, but different programming skills, how to automate, how to test, how to do all of this stuff. And so with all of those contributions, you are recognized in the Java community, and it's a distinguishment that, you know, has to be bestowed upon you. You don't get to apply or anything like that.
And
but
it has
people
to be voted on.
It has to be voted on, and it has to be you have to be recommended by someone who's already a Java champion. At the time, there were less than 300 of those in the world. And so it's a very small community of people, but they have to know you in your work to be able to put you up. And then, yes, the rest of the Java champions would vote. Like, do I know this person? Is their work actually impactful? And fortunately, everybody said yes. And so that's how I became a Java champion.
It is a very hard club to get into. Are you still the only Black woman Java champion ever?
Yes. When you gonna join me, Autumn?
Look, I'm trying. But I just I thought that when I was in college, everybody that was an engineer did not look like me. Nobody, and most women were in front end, and then here comes Angie Jones, the only Black female Java champion, and I love Java, and you were just the biggest star ever. I was just and she has cool glasses, and I want to be just like her. You were the first time I could ever see myself, but also as a back-end programmer and everything. I just thought you were the coolest thing since sliced bread.
I so appreciate that. And I'll tell you why I appreciate it. One, it's just really sweet, but I also appreciate it because I definitely want to break down barriers and doors and help other people like me see what they can be. When I was coming up, I didn't know anything about programming. that just wasn't on my radar at all. Nobody I knew in the world was a coder or anything like that. So if I didn't see it, it's just not even a possibility. I literally did not know it existed, right? I stumbled into a programming course, not even knowing what it is. I just thought, oh, my dad told me, actually, you need to go learn about computers because they're about to take over the world. Kind of like this AI thing. But back then it was computers. And so me not knowing what computers do or whatever, I just found one course that said something about computers, and that was a C++ programming course. It wasn't an intro to Windows or something. It was hardcore thrown into the deep end, and I actually loved it. So that's how I looked up and got into it. But if not for that, who knows where I would be and what I would be doing. And so it's really important to me to be, representation for other people like me so that they know that it exists. Even if they choose not to go that route, to just know that it exists. But what's really special is I'm not a person that just walks around talking about that sort of thing.
No, you are so humble. I be wanting to come for people on the internet. They be trying to say stuff about you, and I'm I will tell you her resume just because she's humble. I'll do it for her. You're amazing.
Yeah, but I don't like, I'm in this space because I really love tech. So I don't want to even be distracted in talking about things like being a woman or being black. Like, I don't want you to, like, I don't want that to be what the conversation is about. Like, I'm over here
really
geeking out about AI and MCPs. Like, let's talk about that. And so I really appreciate, like, when you're like, oh, I like you not because, like, oh, you're a black woman, because you're doing dope stuff, you know, in tech. Like, well, I like that.
I remember that, like, so I loved computers the whole time when I was younger. And then I took my first web design class and I hated it. I was like, this is not for me. Dreamweaver sucks. Like, I don't ever want to do this again. And it was so funny because, like, I watched Hidden Figures and I was like, I love computers so much, but I don't know why. Like, all the, like, intro classes they put me in, I absolutely hated it. And then I got my first Java class and I was like, oh my God, I love this. And it was crazy because nobody... Like, everything that was ever, like, computers, I didn't know that it existed, like, being a computer programmer existed, but anything that was, like, I guess, shopped to me as, like, this is what girls do in computers was never the things I liked, you know? So seeing, like, you and, like, the way that you talked about Java and you were so excited and everybody was always like, I'll try Python or I'll try, I don't know, JavaScript, but Java is too hard or it's too complicated. And I was like, I love the, like... just the structure and the fact that it is complicated, you know. And then you were the only person who was just like, you were so excited about it and you were just like, and then I built this thing and then I built this and I, like, added it all together and I was like, finally, like, someone like me, but, like, even cooler. Like, I want to be like you. So it was just so cool. Like, you didn't shy away from any of the hard things, you know, like, you never. And it's so hard because sometimes people will be like, come and do this talk because you're a black woman, and I'm like, can I do it because this thing is really cool, you know? But, like,
yeah, and I'm dope and I know my stuff.
Yeah. But then also, like, I do really appreciate that I do see myself in you, but it's not like your only skill, you know what I mean? Like, you're not only known for diversity. And I'm like, I try so hard to figure out, like, how you did that, because I want to do that, because I don't want to just get, like, given diversity talks, but it is important to be in those rooms and to speak up for those things. But, like, you are just such an amazing contributor to so many projects, and you do so many things, and, like, I just love that it's never, like, you don't ever shy away from the new thing or the hard thing, and you, like, it's almost like a great light and example to show us how to do it, you know? So I just appreciate you.
Thank you.
You've switched a lot in the things that you focused on over your career so far. How do you choose what to focus on, right? Because there's so many things, right? You have to say no to a lot of things once you're at a certain level of, like, I understand what's possible. Now I have to start focusing and say, I'm going to invest some time here instead of over at the other thing, right? Like, how do you make that decision?
Yeah, I like to be on the cutting edge of tech. And that just keeps everything really interesting for me. One, for myself, but also one gift that I have is being able to explain concepts, like, very simply and help people understand. And so I like to get ahead of it before it's the main thing, like the whole MCP thing. I was there on day one in November when it dropped, and I was like, oh, yo, this is this is dope. Let me learn as much as I can about it because it could take off. I was hoping it would, but I want to be able to explain it to people, you know, and help them figure out, like, how to utilize it in whatever they're doing, or how to avoid certain problems. I want to know the ugly, the bad, you know, the good, all about it. Same thing when I worked on the stuff with TBD. And so at that time, everybody was talking about decentralization, but people were going the wrong route. You know, they were like all into crypto and, oh, we need crypto for everything. Like, we shouldn't be able to even post on Twitter without putting some Bitcoin on it. And it's like, yo, okay, I don't think that's the right way to go. Let's find, like, some other ways to explore decentralization, maybe using, like, smarter technology and things like that. So that's always kind of been my approach. Like, where is the industry headed? People always ask, like, what's your long-term plan? I don't have long-term plans. I keep myself very much so open and available so that I can easily pivot when I need to, you know what I mean? And so right now, I've actually been talking about AI before generative AI was, you know, a hot thing, before it was accessible. Like, I could see, all right, this is coming pretty soon. I didn't know it would take this form, but I knew it was coming pretty soon. And so I studied that way back. If you look me up from years ago, I have talks and things on AI. I was already working in AI in some form or another. And so now that that's landed, I already have that expertise. I can come in and kind of help, others who need to adopt.
I also appreciate that you will find a new tool and you don't like car salesman it, like some people will just be like, it's new and then you should use it for everything, and we're all like, but should you? But you'll be like, hey, this new tool is good for this, and you can do these.
Don't try to do it on everything.
Yes,
right.
Like you can do it and use it for this tool, and it will help you to do this. Like you have very good use cases and very clear use cases, and it never comes off disingenuous. Like I feel like I just side-eyed all of decentralization until you got into it, and then I was like, okay, maybe, because Miss Angie's talking about it. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like when you co-sign something, you have very real ways to use it, and you don't just you don't just put your name on everything. And I think that even goes back to what we were talking earlier with like how honesty is expensive, but it also like it makes us trust you. Like when you put your name on something, it's completely different than just any person in DevRel,
Yeah.
And that actually leads me to one of the questions I want to ask. When should I not use MCP? Right? Like when is it not a good fit?
Okay, so there's a lot. I'm not gonna say not use MCP, but like use it wisely. So there's a lot of talk right now about the security of MCP. We're very much so YOLOing this right now. It's so new, and there's a lot that can be matured in the space. We're actually using MCP very heavily internally within Blob. And I want to write a blog post. I just got to find the time to do it. But I want to talk about like for enterprise type use cases, because this looks very different than the vibe coding you do on Saturdays when you're just like, oh yeah, here's 5 MCPs I'm gonna throw in here, from my boy I never heard of on GitHub. But
that's so real though. People just be using anything, and I'm like,
using anything,
and I'm just like, that's different when you're like, oh, I want to build this really cool thing. But like the security person to me, my eye be twitching when they're like, and now I built it and connected it to all of my data. And I'm like, oh, why?
Yeah, that's nuts, right? So, so there's like a lot of ways I'm like looking at, okay, how do you use it responsibly? How do you suss out different MCPs? Internally, we basically have, we create a lot of our own. Even if one already exists, we'll just make it ourselves. And so that way we know that it's safe, and it's in-house. And we also help, like I told you, we not just the engineers are using it. Everybody wants to use it. So you got people in HR, in the finance department, the executive assistants, the marketers, like everybody is using it, and they want to connect to these systems that I never even heard of. Like these are systems that I don't use, like these are for the finance folks or something, and so they're like, oh, I need an MCP server for this, and we're like, oh, okay. But all of this is being connected to very sensitive data, so we create those MCP servers ourselves and keep them in-house, but we also do a lot of the plumbing for them. Like they don't want to be, so for MCP server, anybody who hasn't done it, you're like copying JSON and like putting it in a file. Like it's real raw out here right now, like you're copying like npm commands and stuff like that. So Ted and finance don't want to do that, right? And so you're like, okay, let me hook this up for you. Let me like wrap it in OAuth. I'm gonna hook it up real nice. All you gotta do is press a button, and so it's pretty sweet.
That's what I'm excited about. Like I understand that AI is where we're going, but I want to really help educate people on when to use AI and how to make it safer, because we're giving people the ability to use technologies that they may like be very new to them. I think it's going to be really important to help educate people on what those technologies do and when you need to be like more careful with using them.
Yeah, so let me tell you this. and this is a real thing that's happening. My sister is not in tech, and she texted me the other night, and she's like, "Yo, you all around the world teaching everybody else about AI. What about me? I need to know it too." Because she's very aware that it's becoming so mainstream that you're going to have to use it. It's like trying to apply for a job and you don't know like how to use.
It's like the cell phone before, like you not having an iPhone or not having a cell phone. People act
but bigger than that, because that's more personal. Like, this is work. This is like people are going to have to know how to use this. Like, oh, I don't know how to type on the computer. I still just use the typewriter. It's like, all right, you're not going to get the job. So she recognizes the shift that's occurring, and she wants to educate herself, but she has no idea where to even start. Like, it's so much noise out there right now. Everybody's trying to sell you something as the end-all, be-all solution. Like, and she doesn't even know where to begin. 2 days later, my aunt called me. Aunt Connie called and said, "Baby, you got some AI classes I can take?" And she's like, you need to make us some classes and give me a little certification or something to go with it. That's Aunt Connie. So
I love that she knew you were the person that makes classes certifications. So that's fire. She was like, she'll make one for me. It'll be fun.
But everyday folks, this is not just a tech thing. Everyday folks are realizing like this is something that they need to learn. But what are we doing to help people get there? Like, there's big pushes in companies too that say y'all need to use AI to be more efficient and to move faster. Sounds great on paper. How do I do that? And to your point, how do I do it safely, right? And how do I do it efficiently?
And I think that there's so many aspects. We need to teach, Aunt Connie how to do it and how to be safe. But also there's so many older people in our lives that we have to teach them how to be safe from AI, not to give too much of your information, where to use it. But also we're pitching it to startups in a way where and I mean startups that are not just tech startups, right? Like people that are starting their own business, or we're saying you can get rid of your HR department, you can get rid of this and just put this AI in it. But you're putting personal identifiable information into these things, right? We need to that's cool that you want to use it, but are we using it in a way that's safe? And do you still have at least one human that knows the regulations in that industry that you're doing to make sure you're safeguarding your business towards that,
Autumn, let me tell you this. Let me tell you how quickly you can get caught up. So I had a deadline last night from the IRS because they were like, "Oh, you owe us money from 2023." And I was like, I don't owe them no money. And it had all of my stock stuff on there from my company, which your company pays that already. So I had to
the
write
same
a letter.
problem. Yep.
So I don't know that kind of stuff that well. I don't know IRS speak that well, And so I'm with ChatGPT, and I'm like, help me craft this. This is what's going on. And it was so tempting, even for somebody like me who knows better. It was so tempting. Damn, I should just upload my my tax returns in here so they could tell me exactly where the discrepancy is. But I knew better not to do that. But somebody else like Aunt Connie wouldn't know that. She would just put it right in there.
Every day in regular day life, I'm like, oh, this is a task that my brain does not want to write this thing. And I'm just like, oh, but can you just imagine how this is going to go on Twitter? Security expert puts her, you're just like, oh, you know better, but
That's
it would be so easy.
You work at Microsoft, so you have an out.
Justin! Okay, the best part of this whole podcast is Miss Angie's faces that she makes every time Justin says something ridiculous.
I'm just out throwing whatever out there.
Also, you look so pretty today.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh,
I wasn't talking to you.
You do too.
Thank you.
My last question here. You mentioned
you too, Justin.
He's like, finally someone's being nice to me.
I'm trying to ask a question here. I'm trying to be serious, keep us on track a little bit. When you said you graduating college, you got your certificates, it helped you kind of get a leg up in the industry. Your aunt or whoever's calling you saying, I need to get a certificate or some classes to up my skill level in this area. I talk to a lot of people that are new in tech or trying to get in tech. And I don't think that in today's world, especially with AI as a tool chain we can rely on for a lot of things, I don't know that certificates are the right place to point people to say you're going to get recognized or you're going to get a some advantage if you have this certificate, rather than person that goes and builds something or tries something and maybe even fails at it, but then publicly talks about it, right? Where do you think people are falling in this in today's tech world of I'm trying to use technology in my job, I'm not a technologist, or it's not software as the thing that I do, or people that are trying to get into software and say, do I get all the AWS certificates to be a cloud engineer? Do I go get the Java thing to be a Java developer? Where do you think people are trying to educate themselves, and where are you seeing that businesses are rewarding them for their efforts to give them jobs?
I'm going to say something controversial. I hate to go here, but I got to tell y'all the truth. So for some people it's different. Justin, you need some paperwork behind whatever else you've done. You could have built the things. So in college, I did 3 internships. I did 2 with Boeing, and I did 1 with IBM. People wouldn't talk to me until I had that Java certification. So even though I had more experience than any college student you're going to talk to. I spent not just the summers, I spent a semester doing college work and working at Boeing at the same time. I had the receipts, but without that certification, I couldn't break into tech. You know what I mean? So for some of us, we don't get that benefit of the doubt. Your work
There's
is enough.
no benefit of the doubt. You got to do 5 times more than everyone else, and they still think you're some DI hire or something.
And so it's oh, okay, you took a test that I know that test, right? I know how hard that test is, and okay, you passed that. All right, I guess I'll give you a shot.
I also think that certifications I wouldn't say they teach me things, but they give me a deadline in which I have to learn things by, right? So I can't study for a test in the same traditional way. It's not a test isn't going to make me know things, and I don't think it's necessarily the best way it's building knowledge. I don't think you can prove that you can build cool things with a certification, but it will trick my brain into really focusing on a subject and diving deep in it, because I'm oh crap, I have this certification that is coming up on the 1st, so I need to know all this
the
stuff.
motivation side of it.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Conference-driven
That's a really good point. And it gives you some sort of success even if you don't break in. So I have a cousin who's studying cybersecurity. He actually works in the health field, but he wants to switch to tech. And so being able to just obtain these certification gives him oh, I'm doing it, I'm actually doing it, even if he doesn't get a job just yet or whatever.
It might also help that pivot. Maybe you don't get a whole cybersecurity job, but you get a more in healthcare cybersecurity adjacent job.
Yeah, something like that. So I don't know, and I don't know every space. I feel security certifications are important from what I see. Government type. Tech type.
There are definitely industries that value them more than
also
others.
Honestly, my cousin is transitioning back into work after being a stay-at-home mom. They made her get a customer service certificate. People out here getting certificates for everything. So honestly, if I think it depends on the level of job. Maybe if you're just starting out, that's a good realm. If you can find, especially a lot of libraries will have ways to get your certifications for free or different things. I wouldn't go spending your life savings on it if you don't have to, but I would definitely look into ways that get free or low cost certifications, because I've taken actual classes from Angie's test automation university, and I learned a lot. You know what I mean? And that's a free resource. So I think there's ways you can audit Coursera classes, and then if you really want it, get a certification from that university. So I think sometimes some people just need a way to break in, but I don't think I think it's different when you work for a major company and they force you to get 6 certifications. You're gonna all of a sudden be a master at that, and I'm just because we've all been there. I have one last question. How do you think cost will play into all this? Because right now, a lot of this technology is be giving away for free, right? So, how do you think that, when we start having to charge for the amount of compute power that goes into all these things, do you think that, an API versus, I don't know, an agent, are agents going to end up being, way more expensive? You know what I mean? I just wonder how cost will play into all of this, because...
That's a great question, and I'm already seeing it actually. So, for example, I told you all Goose is open source. It's free to use. It's local. We don't track anything. It's whatever. But you got to bring your own LLM, right? And so if you bring one of the powerful ones, you have to pay for that. And I'm like, at first, when I first started looking into like LLMs and stuff, I'm like, wait, this stuff not free? Like, you're just used to everything being free. Like, what? And so it's not free. And I've been actually observing this, and it's interesting to me that developers who are like the cheapest people on earth are willing to pay for LLMs usage. Like, they pay. I see them pay like $100 a month and stuff like that. And it's like, interesting. But then I started thinking about, like, what does this mean for junior folks or folks in, areas that are not as rich as like America or whatever, where you don't have an extra $100 to blow on, like, LLM usage and like playing around with stuff. So it's really interesting. I don't have any answers. It's just things that I've been observing over the last couple of months.
We're definitely in the Uber VC funding phase of this, right? Where we can offset all of the promise of you will make money in the future by saying, hey, those rides are cheap right now. But as soon as the taxi system adjusts, or we have some other regulation in place, or we have to actually pay our drivers better or give them any benefits, like all those regulations.
It's gonna go up?
Oh,
I was hoping it was gonna go down, Justin. I was hoping it was going. I was hoping this all just becomes free, like with the hopes of like a DeepSeek, and then you need to compete with DeepSeek, so you got to give me a really good model, open source and free too.
Well, I mean, the freedom of it can cost you, your time. Sure, if you're going to run it yourself, if you have the expertise and you invest the time to learn how to do it yourself, like I have GPUs right behind me, I run LLM models on it. Like we can do that at home, but I had to learn the skill set to do that, and not everyone can do that either, right? There is that overlap.
That's
just like
true.
like if people have an extra $100, you can go $100 you can go pay for it somewhere. If you got an extra 5 hours, you can go learn to do it yourself. Right.
Yeah,
but somewhere in
true.
there, you have to be able to invest in it somehow. And a lot of people coming into the space, they have a lot more time than money, so they can try to invest in it. And that's how I got into technology. Was like, I have all the free time in the world and $0. I'm going to go learn Linux, right? Because I didn't have money to buy a Mac or use Windows. I couldn't pay for it. So I'm just learning this other thing. Right.
Oh, wow.
And so I do think that that's where we're
really
at.
Interesting. Yeah.
But I don't, yeah, I mean, unless there's a subsidiary at the government level, right? Like where we have to keep the cost down. Right? Like if I look at my electric bill, right? Like I can pay for electricity. There's only one company that gives it to me in my area, but they can't gouge me, right? Like I'm a captive audience. If there was no regulation on their industry, they could charge me as much money as I would pay to have power at my house. Yeah. But there are requirements that they offer this at a reasonable fee. So unless we're doing something that offers at a subsidy government sort of law that we say everyone needs access to this tool, because that'll level up everyone, which I do think could be a good option there. But then someone has to run it, right? This isn't free. Yeah. This does cost a lot of money. This is a lot of computes. And maybe the cloud providers say, yeah, absolutely, we're going to go into that program. We're not going to make much money from it, but it might get us some other fringe benefits around it.
But that's also how people start going back to on-prem from the cloud, right? Because before when they were giving it away for free or giving it away for cheap,
all those free credits,
everybody used it. Yep. So I think the more that they start charging for AI, people are going to be like, do I really want this agent, or do I just want to go back to APIs? So I think it's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out when you have to pay for all these things, because at some point, like, the OpenAI is not going to keep raising billions of dollars. You know what I mean? Like,
no, but the point is that this stuff is not free right now. Like, I use AI extensively at work because I'm on Jack Dorsey's bill. Yeah. When I'm at home and I'm working on my side projects, guess what? I ain't cranking it out like that. I'm using the old school. I'm back on the typewriter.
That's actually a really good point, because the difference is Miss Angie has that skill, and we are creating a whole generation of people who will not have that skill because they will only come into the world with that. we are selling it to people as
We're telling them they don't need to learn it.
like,
right?
did you
Like,
see,
don't go to school,
like they had Mark
pay for
Cuban
this.
and all these
That's
people.
not a good idea.
Exactly. Like, he was like, you could be like almost a doctor if you just like have Chat GPT, you can learn anything. And I was like, no, bro, like you have to actually learn things, and then you use it to like make you more efficient and to learn those things. But it's completely like, that's why I think you using AI is going to be like so cool, because you're just making yourself more efficient and learning faster. But you also know that first programming language. Just when you don't even have AI, knowing the first programming language and knowing the second are two different things, right? So can you imagine you have years of deep open source contributor and like engineer and just all like you, and teaching people how to do things is such a deeper level of like knowledge when you've like learned how to teach people. So like I think I just hope that we don't lose that, because people are going to need that, you know?
Yeah, we're really playing with fire right here, I think,
Yes.
right now. I really do. In a lot of different ways, but mostly like that accessibility
Yes.
to this technology. And the thing about, well, one, you need to be using it, even though you might not have access. And two, forget trying to learn how to do it on your own. That's played out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, both of those are very dangerous.
I think
Angie,
that,
go ahead. I was gonna close.
Oh, yeah, I just think that like it's so interesting, like companies are pushing it, but they're ruining their future workforce, because they're going to want people who are curious, who are trying new things, but they're also cutting that off at the knees. So I just wonder where it will all go. And plus, like I said, we're not hopping as much anymore. So you have to now be there to figure out the results of your bad decisions 3 years later.
I mean,
So
I'm
it's
just
gonna
gonna
be
say,
so
That's what they
interesting.
do.
Yeah,
Microsoft's
It's not the first
50th.
time they made a mistake.
you're not wrong.
Microsoft's 50th anniversary party. Satya said that maybe an AI will run Microsoft in 50 years.
That's
right?
what he
Like,
said?
That's what he said. He's like, this is, maybe we don't have another CEO after him. Maybe it's an AI. Like, all right, whatever. Like, you go see if how that works for you. So anyway.
Mark Cuban literally said you don't need college degrees or to learn things. You can just use AI. And I was like, I don't think you can just walk into any, like, I think we're almost like not appreciating what humans do and the reasoning and the context. You know what I mean? Like, and just the
Ain't
fact,
nothing artificial
Yeah.
about making some mistakes in the real world.
it's
right?
so
This is-
important. Like, that's part of being an engineer,
That's
is
true.
really being bad at stuff for a while. Like, but yeah.
Angie, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Where should people find you?
AngieJones.tech. And so I have all of my links there for my social sites, as well as all of the upcoming conferences that I'm going to be at. So definitely check that out.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. Like, you've been like my hero for
Yeah.
like forever. So I'm so glad to finally
Thanks
get
for
to
having
interview you.
me.
Yeah. And thank you everyone for listening. We will talk to you again soon. Thank you for listening to this episode of Fork Around and Find Out. If you like this show, please consider sharing it with a friend, a coworker, a family member, or even an enemy. However we get the word out about this show helps it to become sustainable for the long term. If you want to sponsor this show, please go to FAFO.FM/sponsor and reach out to us there about what you're interested in sponsoring and how we can help. We hope your systems stay available and your pagers stay quiet. We'll see you again next time.